Hey guys, back with another topic today. I've been trying to do these every week or every other week or so hopefully I'll be able to keep it up. I'm having a pretty fun time doing it, whether or not people are actually listening, but it's just fairly enjoyable to just have something to, I guess, talk about. It's more like, I guess you could call this more of a audio diary almost. I don't know what you would call it, but something similar to that. I just want to talk about things I enjoy, and so this is a perfect outlet, I guess. Anyways, today I wanted to finally talk about Rising of the Shield Hero, and why I pretty much wanted to drop the light novel when I was getting towards the end. So before I get into it, I think, where's the anime at right now? Are they gonna fight on the ship? They're fighting the third wave or something, right? So I don't know if that passed or if that's happening next week. I don't know when it's happening, but I'm sure they're fighting the third wave or something like that. Who's that? That was when Glass was introduced or something, right? So that'd be a pretty fun episode to watch, because that's when the story gets really interesting. But anyways, I'm gonna be talking about the light novel, especially more so towards the end, and probably like start incorporating a little bit of, things that happened here and there. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you probably should not be listening to this and should probably just click off. For those of you who do know what happened, I'm gonna be talking about essentially why I wanted to drop the light novel, which is gonna be mostly based off of the whole character development and the way the story kind of went. Not necessarily like the arcs and whatnot were bad, it's more like how the story of the character development and the whole mood of the story changed, right? So if you don't want spoilers, click off. If you're not interested in the subject, click off. If you really don't care or you're kind of interested, thanks for listening. Anyways, so Naofumi, right, had his whole devastating start in the beginning where I want to say all, but the other heroes didn't really help him, especially Motoyasu, right? Motoyasu was pretty much completely influenced by Malty is the older one, Malty's the younger. So he's completely influenced by Malty, right? And that's when you're accused of rape, right, it's definitely especially since there's no evidence, so they just take the girl's word for it. And the whole three hero religion, they already hate the hero of the shield, so everything was in line for Naofumi to just be completely derailed and pretty much have his whole life ruined. It's facts. However, the whole fact that the heroes who were Motoyasu was completely blinded, right? And then Ren and Itsuki they didn't defend Naofumi, but it doesn't seem like they also just completely wanted to isolate him, but yet they still did nothing. And so Naofumi's whole thing, or his one of his curses, right, was vengeance, wrath, alright, is wrath. And that was based off the vengeance he wanted to get towards the heroes as well, but mostly towards Malty and the king, whose name is escaping me right now. But yeah, so he wanted to get his revenge on Malty and the king and the heroes who weren't helping him. Nice. Okay, very not generic, but very solid ground for kind of building up a character, right? Building up people's characters and their motives and what they're driven for, right? And so the event that kind of started the whole track of changing characters was the Spirit Turtle event. Now, for those of you who don't remember, because the Spirit Turtle thing was pretty, what was it, halfway? Maybe not even halfway, it was maybe before halfway. But essentially, the other three heroes go off and try to stop an event before it happens, because they, in the game, in the real world, what they played was, if they waited to stop the turtle, then a giant calamity would happen. And so they went off and to summon the turtle, essentially, so that they could defeat it. So they summoned it, each individually, right? They each did something, and then they summoned it, and their teams got completely wiped, or their groups got pretty much completely wiped, right? Either they were wiped, or the people following them realized, like, these heroes are completely stupid. And so what happens is they all run away. Naofumi is now dealt with dealing with the turtle, and ta-da, he did it. And so here becomes the hunt for the heroes. And this is where I'm just like, I can see why the story starts becoming more lighthearted, right? Because the queen comes back, Naofumi's status is a lot higher, and he is now respected, and because he's doing the most, he is now pretty much set in stone that the things of the past probably will not happen again, right? So he's pretty much set. But what I don't like, I guess, is how easily he kind of just accepted that, like, hey, look, you guys messed up in the beginning, and although I'm never going to trust you guys and I really don't like you guys, I'm just going to leave you guys as is, right? And we find out that, you know, later on, it's just like they all pretty much become disabled, right? Because each one acquires a curse. And so I don't know if Naofumi feels like the curses are enough as a punishment or whatnot, but essentially the way it develops is it's very dark in the beginning, right? Very dark, just like completely full of hatred and just like so blindsided by anger and whatnot. And then as it goes on, it turns very comedic, and just like, I feel like a very strong basis of a character was lost by these very like comedic outings. For instance, Motoyasu sees women as pigs, which, I mean, okay. And then he starts really loving birds because of how Philo treated him. So now he's like just completely entranced by birds. And it's like, okay. Ren was pretty good because he had a complete, like, he was never a character that was super caught up. Like, I guess he was, right? The whole thing about him is that he was very conceited, but about him was like, the way he developed was very nice, in that he tried to atone for his sins and, like, you know, started working things out. He never really did it on purpose, but then you can say like none of them really did it on purpose, right? They're just trying to do what was best at that time, but it just so happened that they're all stupid, so it didn't work out well. Yeah. And then the way Itsuki turned out is this brain dead puppet. You know, like, it just felt like a lot was wasted on specifically Motoyasu and Itsuki, right? And because they're in these states, we as we're reading, we're following Naofumi's perspective, and if you like to really get involved in the story and whatnot, you kind of vicariously live through Naofumi. So the hatred he gets is the hatred we get, and all that type of stuff, right? And so this cop out of just like, it feels like the anger that was built in has no release, right? And you could say that, like, oh, the release was with these curses, with Motoyasu's curse and Itsuki's curse, like, they got what they deserved, right? He's a brain dead puppet, and then he's pretty much a vegetable, and Motoyasu is like some crazy psychopath. And so you could say like, oh, okay, it's like justified, like revenge is sweet, but it was things that Naofumi wasn't directly tied to, right? These guys acquired the curses on their own, and whether or not Naofumi was there or not, it would have happened to them regardless. So it's not necessarily like anything was satisfied, or that is for me. So I didn't like how that turned out, and because of that, like, I know it seems very like small, I guess, but because it went from this complete like 180 of how it was, a very dark story with lightheartedness here and there, into a very like comedic, stupid, like it's stupid moments essentially, right? It's stupid moments now, and I just didn't like that, and it went on for so long, right? Because that's their whole, like, their new characters essentially now, like they have all this conditions and things, and so that part really made me, I wouldn't say disappointed. I can't say disappointed because I'm not a writer. You know, like I don't have any influence over it. I'm just reading it from the story, and for me, it was as if like this anger that was built up with me alongside of Naofumi is now just completely extinguished. And it was just disappointing. I said disappointing, but it was just like, it just didn't feel right that they ended up that way. I know, so when I talk to my friends about it, I know some of them agree with me, right? They don't necessarily like how the whole character development changed and how it went from really dark and gritty to this whole like stupid humor, which, you know, stupid humor is not bad, but I just didn't feel like it fit in with what was set up with Rising of the Shield Hero. I keep saying it backwards, but there's that. And I also have friends who say like, no, I think it completely makes sense, they're okay with it. So there's always going to be different types of characters within people and stuff like that, so I understand why you could see it both ways. There's a lot more, but I'm realizing I've been talking for like 11 minutes already, and it's just talking about it, like I get flustered just thinking about it because I really didn't like how they ended up. And yeah, so what did you guys think about, or for those of you who've got that far and, you know, got to the whole change of characters, what did you guys think about them? What did you guys, you know, how do you guys feel about it? And do you even care? Because I know sometimes some people don't necessarily care. You know, it's just they're not an, I don't know if you guys can hear that as the birds, but, you know, some people realize like, look, they're not an author. The book is just there, right? So they just read it to read it, and then whatever happens, right? It's uncontrollable. But then I know there's some people out there who really get very invested in the story and the characters and all that type of stuff, so they get mad when things don't happen. So I would be really interested to know if you guys are in my line of opinion or something else. So thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a good day.